Hey guys, welcome back to grade 11 biology. Well, in the last episode, we talked about bacteria, and in today's lesson, let's talk about the kingdom Archaea, which also belongs to prokaryotes. So, what is Archaea? Archaea is a kingdom of single-celled microorganisms, or you can call it unicellular, that are similar to bacteria, but they are genetically and biochemically different from bacteria. They were considered as bacteria before, but now they're recognized as a distinct group due to their characteristic. So basically, this guy over here, Carl Wood, like I mentioned in the last episode, he discovered the kingdom of Archaea. Let's start with the characteristics of Archaea and learn about what makes it different from bacteria. Well, first of all, they're prokaryotic cells, which means they lack a nucleus and they lack membrane-bound organelles. Second of all, lipid in their cell membrane makes them more stable in extreme conditions. Well, bacteria do have a lipid in the cell membrane, but they're just not as stable or as strong as the ones in Archaea. And although Archaea look like bacteria, their DNA replication and protein synthesis are more similar to eukaryotes. That is the reason why scientists thought of Archaea and bacteria were the same thing because they had a similar appearance. Last but not least, many Archaea are extremophiles, meaning that they prefer living in places like deep-sea vents, acidic hot springs, and salt flats. So they prefer living in these extreme conditions where bacteria would just simply die. Let me give you guys some examples of Archaea. Well, there are 5 typical types of Archaea out there, and I'm going to briefly go through each of them in today's presentation. So the first type of Archaea we're going to be looking at is called methanogens. And if you look at the first part of the word, you can actually guess that it is methane related. And yes, you're absolutely correct. They can produce methane or CH4 gas. And they're typically found in swamps and marshes. Well, halophiles, they can live in extremely salt environments or areas that are high in salinity level. Well, that is a more scientific way of saying extremely salt environments. And the area they live in includes deep sea. And they can handle up to 15% of salt concentration. Just to give you an idea of how crazy it is, the salt concentration in the sea is around 3.5%. So it is crazy that they can survive up to 15%. Well, thermophiles, they can thrive in high temperatures. The best temperature for them to grow is above 80 Celsius. So they live in areas such as hot springs and hydrothermal vents. Well, acidophiles can thrive in very acidic conditions. But last but not least, sarcophiles. And they're cold-loving archaea. And they can live between -20 Celsius and -10 Celsius. And the thing is, if you put a methanogen in a very cold or very hot condition, they cannot survive. And same thing applies to psychrophiles. So if you put them in a very cold, in very hot conditions, or if you just simply put them under the room temperature, they can't survive either. So in conclusion, they can only handle one or a specific type of extreme conditions, or maybe up to 2. Well, here I've got a thinking question from the textbook, and the question is, how do prokaryotes impact climate change? So think about how bacteria and archaea contribute to climate change, and let's example and explain how. I guess that's about it, yeah. Again, it's a very short lesson, and thank you for listening. I'll see you soon.